Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. For today's video, rather than doing anything Halloween related, even though it is Halloween season, I thought I would instead do a little bit of a look back to what I think will be what I think is the my main event of the year, or the most memorable event of my year, namely DashCon 2. Because I found this video by SwellEntertainment, we gotta talk about DashCon 2. And while I initially had in mind to just view it for myself, I decided, no, I'm better off, I'm better off watching it along with you, and reacting to it, because I want to make sure that particular event is covered as fairly as it is fair to cover it. So we'll be so yeah, it's a reaction video. Sorry to tell you that. If you don't want to look at this video because it's a reaction video, well then, first of all, the title should have given it away. Second of all, you are free to click away right now. Anyway, assuming you're still here, the reason I decided to do a video on this topic is because, first of all, I've been to DashCon 2. Second of all, I think it is fair to say that DashCon 2 is actually has actually been a pretty memorable milestone in my in my year so far, and arguably in my life in general. Not just because I took part in DashCon 2, but because I visited Canada and more broadly the Americas for the first time with the occasion of DashCon 2. So to that extent, DashCon 2 got me got me out of Europe, and then I came back, obviously. In case you're wondering, the first videos, both on this channel and my main one, have been recorded in Canada. Funnily enough, on the eve of DashCon 2. So I didn't just come in, I didn't just fly into Canada for that, but I saw that this was an opportunity that I found to be worth taking, because I go every day on Tumblr, and there is always something very very rewarding, something very hedonic in the most positive sense possible. There's always something there, that is talked about, that is looked at, and I find that it has grown up to a sizable degree. Like, whatever you think about Tumblr, it is its own unique and very particular, very distinctive social ecosystem. And it is in many ways, and it is in fact in many ways mature, in spite of its reputation, because the people there know what they want, and they know and they know better than to look for for anything else. And they very much made that website their own, and they built a very interesting community there. So for that reason, I very much support I very much support any initiative Tumblr does, especially if it helps further that community. And for that reason, I decided that I would be at DashCon 2, so I could see that community, see and experience that that community firsthand. And this video got me curious to see how SwellEntertainment, who I admit is not a YouTuber I typically follow, responds to it. And occasionally I will pause this video and maybe add some comments on the proceedings and what exactly went on. Oh, and in case you're curious, this video that is right under my window is entitled "DashCon is Resurrected: The Entire Story of DashCon 2" by Strange Eons. I actually make a few appearances. Within it, though obviously not as myself alongside Strange Eons, but as a con attendee. I might even show up as a con attendee in in this video. That might be a little bit, that might be a little bit fun to see. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get this video going.
Surely you guys must have known that I was going to find a way to make it to DashCon 2. Who do you think I am?
Okay, 5 seconds in, or okay, I stopped at 6 seconds in, and I already have to add, I already have to add a little bit of context, because the organizers of DashCon 2, thought it would be a relatively small, low-key affair, and for that reason, they only made 500 tickets available for purchase, and when they opened up the ticket sales, the website crashed because they had 6,000 people looking for tickets, and of course I was among them. I very much wanted to, be in that moment at that event, and I wanted to experience it for myself, which is exactly what I did with a very shrewd mix of persistence and cunning. I was able to get my ticket for DashCon 2. I might be either the only or one of the few Europeans who actually made it there. Anyway, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get into it.
That's it. That's my intro.
Hi.
Oh yeah, I do actually remember that, this intro. So there were a few videos of hers I've watched a while ago, but however, the main thing I remember is, is really that intro. So I guess that should give you an idea of what my style is. If I find the intro to be the most, if I, given my fondness for Tumblr and the fact that I remember the intro of SwellEntertainment more than anything else she does. Anyway, I've stopped her enough times in the first 15 seconds. Let's see what the remaining half hour has.
I'm Amanda, you're watching SwellEntertainment, and I am currently in Toronto, Canada for DashCon 2.
Good for you.
In fact, I have finished DashCon 2 for the day because I have hit my limit. Not of DashCon 2 in particular, just my limit of what my body can physically handle. You see,
okay,
I'm
that's
insane, and so I decided that I wanted to have my cake and eat it too and do both DashCon 2 and Anime Expo this year. So I did 2 full days of Anime Expo, and then I took a red-eye flight to come to Canada. At which point, I got here at 7 a.m. this morning, and then came back to my hotel, checked in, had some breakfast, and then immediately hit the ground running to go to DashCon. 2 was coming
That's
out.
amazing. Okay, wait. Oh, fuck. Okay, sorry for that. There was an unexpected ad, so so I had to pause. I'll promise I'll try to keep ads to a minimum over the course of this video. Anyway, back to Amanda, who said talked about how she arrived in Toronto right before the con occurred. I arrived about a week earlier because I really wanted to sample the surroundings, so to speak.
The exhaustion is catching up with me. Now let's explain how I got these tickets, because the way I got these tickets I think also plays into a little bit my confusion with something that we're going to touch on a little later.
I already talked about this.
About DashCon 1 because you guys don't understand why there's a 2 if you don't know about it.
Oh god. This is something I'm going to be afraid of for any potential future coverage of DashCon 2, because everyone will have to talk about DashCon 1 and how much of a failure that was. And truth be told, you really don't need to. That topic has been covered to death. You really don't need to. You really don't need to recap DashCon 1. You can really just say, "Oh yeah, DashCon 1 happened." For more details, check out one of the dozens or hundreds of videos that have already been made about it. The real beginning of DashCon 2 actually comes from one of the organizers of DashCon 2 saying that, and I quote, "My toxic trait is that I think I can organize DashCon 2." And yeah, she was right. I will give it to her, but she was surprised to find out, oh, wait, this is actually really complicated. And because she watched a whole bunch of these, she watched several videos about the first DashCon, and about how unprofessional everything surrounding it was. And and when she looked into it, when she assimilated that, she thought, really, that was it? The only reason this was this was that much of a problem, that notorious of a flop, was because was because the organizers didn't answer her emails. Really? That's something I can deal with. And then she started dealing with it and found out, oh wait, there are lots of emails that she has to answer to. Still, she pulled it off. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the video I'm reacting to, or the video you're currently watching, or at least I assume you're watching. Anyway, moving ahead.
About DashCon. I would hope that if you watch me, you know about DashCon. I've never done a DashCon video because I was 14, 15 when it happened. But
you were the same age as the organizer.
Was an event about 10 years ago now. Okay.
Okay, a little younger.
Was originally going to be like a Tumblr convention, and then they were like, we're gonna sue you, kind of. And so then it became DashCon, like dashboard on Tumblr. Okay. And it was kind of like my first like real conscious memory that wasn't like a Disney related event, honestly. That was like the first real disaster event that I was like aware of socially and social medially. Yeah, there was a
Calling it a disaster is perhaps a little bit of an exaggeration, but only a little bit, because there are still people who made who made lifelong friendships there, and people who have met for established connections. I would not be surprised if there actually was someone who got engaged after meeting there, maybe even married, maybe even started families, and by that I'm talking about families with kids. Anyway, moving ahead.
A lot of issues with the event. There was a lot of planning issues with the event. There was a ball pit, so if you ever see like a meme of like a deflated, sad-looking ball pit, that's from the original DashCon.
This is Steve, by the way.
One of the reasons that I always make jokes about ball pits whenever I'm at a convention and I see one, it's because of DashCon. Now, what I did not know until recently was that no one ever actually peed in the ball pit at the original DashCon. I did think that was real.
Yeah, one of the memes that surrounded the original DashCon. And as you have heard, it was really just a meme, not something to not something to concern yourselves with. That being said, DashCon 2 fully leaned into the meme at in various ways. Like there was actually DashCon 2 had its own ball pit, but there was a freaking code of conduct that went into actually getting into the ball pit. Not to mention that at least at one point there was like a dispenser of lemonade, and it was labeled ball pit piss. So yeah. So yeah, the organizers of DashCon 2 have a very particular type of humor. And in case you're wondering, no, I did not delve into the DashCon 2 ball pit. I am low-key regretting I didn't, but only low-key. I don't. It doesn't really hurt me that much. It's more of an I finished the event, I attended it, but I didn't complete it. So yeah, whatever.
Okay, I hoped it was real, just because I was like, you know what, all this going on, of course someone peed in the ball pit, but no, apparently no one ever actually peed in the ball pit originally. That was a rumor, but it's a very funny rumor/myth. But a good
I already talked about how that works.
All of this was actually put out by Strange Ants,
or
who
was
processed. Like basically one of the main guests of DashCon.
She was more than actually one of the main guests. I think she was the first guest who was who was actually announced, and she was basically the main celebrity, I think it's fair to say, who was who was attached to the to the event. And she very much reached out to the organizers of DashCon 2, and and in many ways actually helped them put the whole thing together. And she even became their videographer, as you can see with the DashCon is Resurrected video. Anyway, moving ahead.
Con 2. In fact, at the end of the video, she is like, and DashCon 2 is coming back because they had reached out to.
It was specifically that video, or the ending of that video, that made me decide, okay, I'm going to Canada. I'm going to DashCon 2. Like, whatever happens, that was that was my goal. Like sometime in June 2024, I decided July 5th, 2025, or okay, July 2025, I will be in Canada. I'll be in Toronto. I'll be at DashCon 2. That was my that was a fixed point in my brain, and I was like, no matter what happens, that is the reality that I'm going to make for myself. I'm going to do something somehow as to make it a reality. And yeah, I did.
Strange Aeons and was like, hi, we would like for you to be a part of this event type of thing. But yes, I will link that video down below if you would like to go do a full 2-hour deep dive of the original DashCon, okay? Because I could not, this video will be 18 hours.
Here is the link, by the way. DashCon and Extensive World History. You know. So yeah, she is actually keeping her word. Amanda from Swell.
Long if I were to do both.
Amanda
DashCon
Swell,
is
how do
one
I
of
call
those
it?
events that becomes a meme. Actually, one of the events that you guys bring up to me a lot with any failed event, anything like that. You guys usually bring up Botanicon, DashCon, or Firefest. Typically, when you're like, "This is a disaster," it's like this. Okay, DashCon is often
DashCon is part of a
referenced
holy
by
trinity.
at least the internet crowd.
Who knew?
Okay, mostly women and they thems in my demographics. When DashCon 2 was coming out, my original plan was to be sneaky. Super sneaky. To the point that if you watched my live streams in the last couple of months, anytime someone was like, "You're going to DashCon too, right?" I would be like, "Shh, you guys need to be chill." Okay.
Going by what you're talking about in this part of the video, I assume being sneaky didn't work. Anyway, moving ahead.
Okay. Because at a certain point, I'm gonna have to be sneakier about going to events. Right now, I do the sneaky thing of just buying a ticket, which some people deem as sneaky, which is very funny to me. But I could not do that this time around because I missed the first ticket drop.
I already talked about this, about the story involved there. So, however, the idea that there never differentiates there being a first ticket drop. So I assume there was a second one as well. Go on.
Okay, I was not able to buy a ticket the normal way. That was a bit of a mess apparently because we'll talk about like the planning committee and all of that, but basically they just did not expect the turnout that they got. Basically had an estimate of people that they thought were interested in it. They did not think that that number was going to be the amount of people that actually wanted to attend, and so like the ticket site like crashed. It was a whole thing. It was a lot. I was just managed to convince myself that they were maybe going to do another wave of tickets or something like that. They didn't. Me and Sparkly, my assistant, did end up emailing their queries page and being like, "Hey, Swell would really like to come. Can she please have a media pass?" We ended up talking with one of the organizers, whom was like, "Hey, we are a small event. We are partnering with a couple of local creators. We would love for Swell to come, but we do not have the means to provide her with security."
that reaction
I've
is
never had
everything.
someone think I would want security. I was like, "Isn't that crazy?" to like a few of my friends, and they were like, "I don't think you've actually been to an event yet where like 75% of the attendee list probably knows who you are." And I was like, "I don't think that's accurate." And a lot of my friends were like, "Okay," which I did not need security, for the record. Okay, that was not necessary. Coming with a
Yay.
buddy probably would have been smart, just to have a little bit of a buffer, but everything was fine. Everyone was normal. I want to make that note, okay? But I
That's
did
good.
think that was silly. But then my team was like, "Nuh-uh, be realistic." And so I ended up paying $35 Canadian for my pass. It ended up being like $43 US, all things considered. Because like I said, we're in Toronto. One of the things that I expected coming in
Less in
today
euro.
was because back in the original DashCon, okay, one of the organizers was, she's 17 or 14?
Oh yeah, Lachlan O'Neill, also known as Nessie, also known as Raccoon MILF. Yeah, she had a stand at the at DashCon 2, and also did a little bit of a presentation there. So she was a very welcome presence, and by the end of the event, she actually says that attending DashCon 2 and seeing seeing how that ended up, kind of helped heal that part of her soul that was particularly hurt by the by the disappointment that was the original DashCon. Anyway, enough gushing. Let's move on.
She was a teenager, and so the joke was like, "Oh yeah, that's kind of why the event was like that. That was a teenager. That was like the one putting it on." Okay, there was a group of organizers, but one of them was a teenager. Lachlan is back. Lachlan is not involved with DashCon, but she is attending DashCon as like a guest, okay? Like Strange Aeons. However, the things I was seeing on TikTok from Lachlan, and then some of the stuff that I was seeing on the DashCon like Instagram and stuff like that, I was fully under the impression that Lachlan was putting this on again.
I can't really comment on that because because my main avenue of interaction for for DashCon 2 and all of the organizing and marketing that was involved with that pretty much happened exclusively through Tumblr. I don't even have a TikTok. I do have an Insta, but admittedly, aside from promoting my own videos, I don't really use it at all. Anyway, moving ahead.
Just based off what I had been seeing, or at the very least that Lachlan was involved, like in the planning committee. That has been confirmed to me that Lachlan was not involved in planning and that Lachlan was just a guest, basically. And on the website, going back through and checking things, it does say, like, we are not at all affiliated with the original DashCon team. It does go through and detail everyone that is involved in DashCon. Lachlan is not on this list and things like that. But I'm just trying to explain why I was confused, because I did tell one of the organizers, like, is she involved? Because I'm lost. Okay, so that was that. I can go back through and check some of her videos that I had seen, but some of them at least were heavily referencing like when she did DashCon, or referencing DashCon and like how DashCon is happening again. And so maybe my brain just got it crossed where I'm just like, oh, she's involved, versus like, and she is here. Like, she was dressed like as like a bald pit lady. I think my confusion was just around like the level of involvement and things like that. And then also apparently on all of the emails that other people got, apparently it said like, we are not affiliated with the initial DashCon team in those sign-offs, but in the communications that my team had with the organizers that we spoke to, nothing mentions like we are not affiliated with the DashCon team. So it may have just been a confusion on my part, but I wanted to make sure that that is included here, just so that, the confusion is cleared up.
It was made quite clear right from the beginning that this was very much a different team covering this event. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure how she got that. So, okay, she did actually say how she get to that conclusion, but really sticking with that, sticking with that appearance, sticking with that impression is somewhat wrongful, I have to say. Okay, another ad. Yeah, you will once again be paused. Okay, and now we're getting some footage from the actual scene itself, and I can pretty much confirm that this looks similar to the actual parking space. This might be the actual center where DashCon 2 took place, though I don't really recognize it from this angle. Anyway, moving ahead.
It's 9:32. I just got to the center. And here's the line.
So like I said, this was in Toronto at the Japanese Canadian Cultural Center. And I do think that this venue was good for the amount of people that you had here. I do think that a different layout would be better, but I understand first time doing an event a decade later. The organizers did say this was the first time they had done a convention. They have organized events before, but they haven't done a convention before. Their experience was mostly in charity events based off what they shared. This worked, but definitely I think if we were to do this again, a different venue might be the move, not to knock this venue whatsoever.
That might be a fair assessment. However, as I said, I had a great time there, and really the main issues I had with the venue, if at all, were the fact weren't really about the place itself, but how the place itself was potentially arranged. And by that I mean that there was one particular detail that I wished would have been better done, namely the fact that instead of having to rely on brochures, there could have been like indicators at each room detailing what the what the schedule was supposed to be. That is really the the main issue I had. Then again, that might be because I'm German and pedantic, but anyway, moving ahead.
Beautiful venue, very cool. I loved all the posters and like different signatures and stuff on the wall and all that. It was very cool. But I do think the layout was just a little difficult for some of the things that you were doing and like some of the different schedule items. And so a different layout might be the move. A hotel might actually be the move. That might be the thing that you want to do. But I understand that a hotel might be more expensive, most likely. I did not see these on the counter when I scanned my QR code, but that doesn't mean they weren't there. I did see them at guest services, which was at a different table on the other side of the entryway. So I just walked up. Can I have one? Yes. This is really well done.
Okay, good to know. As I said, brochure. And yeah, you can rely on it, but I've however, given all of the events I've been able to witness, I can safely say that adding the schedule of each room to its entrance would be of a great help when it comes to navigating it.
I understand paper waste and things of that nature, but guys, as someone who attends a lot of events, I hate so many events mobile apps. I hate them so much.
As I said, you can simplify it with schedules at the doors. Moving ahead.
Sometimes you just want to hold the schedule in your hand. You just want to program. I get it. Everyone has an app now. You can sell ads on apps. Sponsors love an app because then they can put their sponsor right up, their ad right up front.
Okay, yeah,
get it.
true.
I get it. It's sexy. So many of them are buggy and so many of them suck. This is fantastic. DashCon 2 pocket guide, okay? And this quite literally fits in your pocket. These are the clowns that they had. They had like a whole clown thing. And yes, that is a glass of piss. I'll show you the ad. Hold on, where is it? Yes, a refreshing glass of piss, sir. It's lemonade. While supplies last, come to the merch desk for an ice-cold glass of 100% genuine ball pit piss. It's lemonade. I think it may have been free, or it was $1. I don't know. I didn't get any, so I cannot review the alleged piss.
Nor did I, to be honest. So, yeah. Anyway, I think I did notice other people having it, and they seemed fine. So either they have a very well-developed kink, or or it was the real deal. Moving ahead.
My job is so all over the place.
Yeah, well, this is your job. I don't even do this for a living.
Like 1 minute I'm on a red carpet, and then the next I'm surrounded by weebs and nerds, and I'm talking about piss.
How do you know there aren't any weebs and nerds on red carpets? Come on, Swell. It's not that much of a niche thing anymore.
And guess what? I get paid the same amount regardless of topic. First, we have a dedication. This guide is dedicated to all of you, the people crazy enough to see DashCon 2 pop up in their Tumblr feeds and decide to actually show up. We couldn't have done this without you. With love, the DashCon 2 team. Also have a full floor plan of both the floors on here, including the areas that were available to us as part of DashCon and what wasn't. The whole center was not rented out for DashCon, which I think is fine. I think you guys handled that well. I would have liked better signs, just in general, for like the different areas and things like that.
Would you have wanted them to be laminated? Because, by the way, I already talked about me being German and means having different expectations and how that could be satisfied. I can't help but think that better signs means sturdier looking signs, i.e., things that can be ripped away, and that is very much a joke in Germany about how things or signs are laminated even though they're not supposed to be. Like, seriously, there's an entire subreddit about it. It's r/aber bitte laminiert. I'm not gonna spell it out for you, but I will put it in the description, assuming I remember it.
Ended up working fine, but I do think that is something that a bigger sign, I know it's an extra cost, okay, or like extra something to do, but like you can get some poster board from like a craft store and like deck them out really big and make them really clear. I just think that the printer paper wasn't always the best move, but also you made that up with like all the volunteers that you had. That was like, oh, do you need help? I can help you. Like immediately. We also have the full panel schedule color coded with each category of which room they were going to be in with the time slot.
Yeah, that was a good addition. I will admit to that.
This event was a 9:30 to 9:30 event. That's a long day, but it's a one-day event, so that's fine. I just couldn't do it because I'm tired. I only have so much in me, and I do choose the most difficult options possible. They also have the resources in here, the charity raffle that's been going on. They partnered with the Canadian Cancer Society as well, so it's a whole fundraiser to do the raffles and everything like that. Different photo shoot time slots. So there was a Super Hulock photo shoot, Phantom Olds, Goncharov photo shoot, the multi-purpose room.
In case you're wondering, she didn't say Goncharov, she said Goncharov, which is a fake movie that Tumblr invented, and now it's part of official Tumblr lore, and it all came up organically through all of the for all of the people invested in it and talking about it. And the idea behind it is to kind of spoof how movie bros talk about movies. And so they, and so they invented this, this whole movie to, to fake talk about it. However, I do have to say that the ways in which it was presented actually sounded quite compelling, and I low-key wish that it was actually, a real movie. But anyway, a very interesting piece, and I very much, and it very much made Tumblr brighter, even if, even if only for a while. Moving ahead.
And then again, all the different details of the panel. So it wasn't just the schedule on here, it's like actual breakdowns of all the different panels. Now, I did end up missing the opening ceremonies because I made a beeline to the exhibitor hall room, because I always do that. And I did a full lap.
I actually missed the opening ceremony too, because I, somehow I was under the impression that it started at 10 a.m. and then I missed the opening. Oh well. Doesn't matter. All right. Or if anything, I assumed that 9:30 was the was the general opening, and then the opening ceremony would take place a little bit later. But again, that could be that could be on me. Anyway.
Half of that. I always get recognized in Artist Alleys, but this one there was a lot of you. Let's get it out of the way.
Full disclosure, I don't actually remember seeing her. Maybe I did see her, but I didn't recognize her. That's, that's something. Moving ahead.
There was a lot of my viewers in attendance at this event, which is very fun for me. Okay, everyone was very nice. Some people were like, I didn't recognize you with your mask on. I was masking at this event the same way I masked at Anime Expo, and I did take the mask off if people wanted.
Full disclosure, I wasn't masked, but I did see that a lot of people were masked, including one of the people I was... including the person I was most surprised to actually see at the event, namely Shiran Chai Chao. I don't know if Amanda's going to mention them, but I was very surprised when they when they walked by me, and I literally just I literally scrammed to my feet in order to meet up, exchange a few words, take a selfie. So yeah. I am still glad that happened, and I'm still glad I did that, even though it may come across as a little bit awkward. Still, the main point is I don't remember seeing Amanda. Maybe I'll recognize her in some of the footage she's going to show. Maybe
Photos and things like that. I do that intentionally because I refuse to be a super spreader. I'm learning that my blue light glasses and a mask makes it so that I'm basically Clark Kent. Y'all cannot tell me oh yes, there was a ball pit. We'll talk about the ball pit in a second.
You already mentioned there was one. Move ahead.
But they also have a map of the full exhibitor hall, laid out with everyone's numbers for their booths, and dealer's hall, not exhibitor's hall, with the list of everyone's names as well, and then further info.
I might actually have that in that brochure somewhere, or I may have had it, maybe left it in Canada. I really don't know.
Sheet, merch desk. If you need help, they have a harassment support line as well, in case there was any issues.
That's good.
They were really making an emphasis on, accessibility for anyone that was disabled and all of that, and they kept emphasis.
That being said, I don't remember if there were any elevators for like wheelchair users. So yeah, but otherwise, in general, a lot of the event was made very very accessible, and I was very glad to see that. And it was quite clear that the organizers did actually put in the effort, and they were actually involved all throughout the day to make sure that everything ran smoothly. So yeah, well done on you guys. You guys, you girls, you people. Yeah.
Emphasizing in multiple talks that I went to, like, hey, if we did a bad job and you are someone who uses a mobility aid or anything like that, and you think we've done something wrong, please come and tell us so we can make this better in the future, which is always a good thing. They did have catering by Oak Park Deli. I didn't end up buying anything from them just because I had a thing.
I actually did, and I have to say it was nice. It's not the best I've had at a con, not the worst I've had at a con. It was serviceable.
of Goldfish, but they had sandwiches, hot food, salads, snacks, and drinks as well. And then there was apparently like a supermarket like a 10-minute walk from here as well. I went to Strange Aeons talks about internet archaeology, and I like to, occasionally joke about being a social media anthropologist, because one thing that I have seen as someone who went to conventions before COVID, okay, and then now has made it a whole job post-COVID, okay, the thing that I see complaints the most, especially as a lifelong fangirl, is there are a lot of people in the gaming space, in the anime space, and the nerd space as a whole that are really bummed when they go to conventions now and artist alleys and the like, and there's been essentially an invasion of normies in these spaces because of lockdown and things like that, and people getting into new media and things like that. I'm of the opinion that new fans to a thing eventually makes the thing more accessible, or we get more options and things like that. I do think
I agree with that. Like, seriously, the more people get to see and experience more, the better off not just they will be, but the better the structures they put in place will also end up being. So to that end, I very much support media access for as many people as possible.
I think that's a good thing overall. I want all of my shows to have a bajillion and one seasons. And sometimes to get that, it means they need to be discovered by people. My fandom spaces need to be invaded so I get more media. However,
Good point.
if you didn't
Good
grow
point.
up in fandom spaces, you may not know the fandom etiquette, and that can be very upsetting for people that have always found community and solace in these fandom settings, okay? So if you, for example, went to Anime Expo and you were like, there are too many people that are just here to be hot, or they've watched one anime or they've watched one animated movie and they don't like it and things like that, and everyone's awful and it's all just like a mad dash frenzy and this is crazy, and actually all of you need to stop encroaching on my nerd stuff so that I can get access to this line should not be 9,000 years long. Things like that. Go to DashCon too. I say this with love and respect. I truly mean this. Everyone here was like a hardcore fandom person, hands down. There was no one here that
I am arguably the exception. Like, I don't know, I wasn't really involved. Like I said, the main reason I was at DashCon 2 was for Tumblr itself, not for any particular show. That being said, I was into the Doctor Who revival for quite a while, but but I stopped by, I'll say, Jodie Whittaker's second season. I saw the first, didn't see the second. Not because she's a woman. I didn't drop the show for that reason. I dropped the show because, well, there weren't any convenient viewing options for me, and I found the stories to not be as engaging as I think they could have been. So yeah, it is safe to say that my concepts of the show kind of grew beyond what the makers of the show could make of it, which is a very weird thing to say, but it makes, and also it makes me sound very arrogant, but it is the closest to the truth that I can authentically come to. And also general nerdery, because I'm an offer, in case you forget.
I was just kind of here to try to go. Okay, like there was no one here that was like, let me just go take a look at DashCon 2. There were people that were like, we wanted to see if this was going to be a real thing or not. But like, they were all still like hardcore Tumblr users, hardcore fans of anything really. A lot of people dressed up and cosplayed as the ball pit. Funny, very funny to see.
Yeah, true. Okay, airline ad, that's new. It wasn't an airline ad, it was a cruise line ad. Still. Anyway, back to Swell.
Executions of how people did that, which is very cool. I always love seeing different executions of cosplays and things like that. I don't know. It was just kind of nice to just go to like a full-on fandom event again, where it's like there's not a bunch of swells walking around, and like I say that, in the sense of like there's not just people that are just here because they're content creators and they want to maybe get a video on this. I might be a fan. I'm a huge fucking nerd, for those of you that haven't picked that up yet, okay, if you don't know me in real life. But like there are times where I go to a convention or I go to an event and I'm like, okay, I'm here because I want to like document and review this event as a whole, and I'm like going to try and immerse myself as much as I can in the subculture and all of that. But then there are also times where I go to an event and I see people and they're just like, let's film the cringe, and that was not the case here at all, which was really nice, actually. And so that's one of the things
Cringe culture is dead, and I'm bringing in its corpse for reward money. That's an actual Tumblr quote. So yeah, if you're looking for cringe, the only place you should look at is yourself.
Is that if they were to do another DashCon 2,
And yes, that is very well worded, because the idea of a successor to DashCon 2 was discussed, and it was stated that successor should still be called DashCon 2 because, you know, because it's funny, because it's ridiculous. Anyway, moving ahead.
2.0, Texas Boogaloo. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just punning now. I do think a bigger venue and a bigger attendee move would actually be nice, but I do think that it would probably still be the same group of people, which is people that are just really hardcore fans and want to show off their love of fandom and Tumblr and the like, you know. And that was really cool to see. So I wanted to touch on that. I also want to mention this because not just from like the fan perspective.
I'll assume this is her editing room, given that this is the second edition that she has now made from from this place. So yeah, interesting little editing room you've got there.
Perspective and like attendee perspective, but like one of the complaints I hear about Anime Expo, about a lot of conventions now that are like the.
Also, I just noticed this this little racing thing here. That's because Amanda actually also has a second channel that is more dedicated to motorsport or racing in general. It's linked in the description of this video. Oh yeah, right here, Motorsport and Car Hobby channel. Yeah. So yeah, if that seems of interest to you, go ahead and check it out. But after you see this video.
The well-known conventions is that they've become very corporate in that they are no longer like fandom spaces. They are,
For some reason, even if DashCon 2 takes off, I don't really think, that it will become corporate. It'll become like like another marketplace for a whole bunch of people. Remember in 2018 when when Yahoo decided to buy out Tumblr and then had to sell it immediately because the space and the audience that Tumblr provided was very hostile to what it is that they actually intended to make of it. Yeah, that is very much what I think will happen with anyone else who wants to invest in that property. You don't come in, pay, and then see a change as you want it to change. No, you do business with them on their terms. Otherwise, you don't do business at all. You fail. You lose money. Yahoo bought Tumblr for about $1 billion, if I'm not mistaken, and then had to sell it for $5 million. So yeah, they lost a lot. But Tumblr itself is still going strong, and it is still making a powerful impression. I could actually argue that the community that has been built within and around it is actually stronger than it has ever been. Not just because of DashCon 2, not just because there are some notable creative people that were involved with that process or with this event, but also through stuff like the Iron Widow duology so far, but also the books by Tamsin Muir, who were very popular, not just in Tumblr but also on Tumblr. They were popular not just on Tumblr but also in general, more broadly. And to that end, I am pretty sure there will still be there is a steady stream, a steady investment coming into Tumblr that is slowly spilling out and ensuring a somewhat equal or homogeneous exchange between that ecosystem and the broader one. Or at least that's simply my impression.
Very much like the entertainment companies, the big companies, the sponsors, making it a bunch of, announcements, featured, official panels, things like that. And so like the fan elements of like fan panels and things like that is less a big element of conventions now. That's one of the main complaints I hear about Anime Expo, where people are like, I wish you would have gone 10 years ago or something like that, you know. So
As I already said, Tumblr is unlikely to, or DashCon is unlikely to encounter a similar phenomenon. In fact, funnily enough, someone, someone at one point during the con actually spontaneously put up a shrine, or rather a prompt to make one particular place a shrine. That was not something the organizers intended. That is simply something someone plopped down somewhere, and various other people very much came in and very much filled up, created that shrine. It was that's the kind of spontaneous creativity that that Tumblr very much feeds upon, but also fuels in, feeds back into itself. That is what, and for that reason, I think it's fair to say that this will basically be the standard moving forward, because they are a self-sustaining creative environment, and I can quite confidently say that anyone who wants to invest within that environment needs to respect that in order to actually see any kind of any meaningful success.
that element is also not here. Like, they had sponsors, obviously, but obviously this is very much like there's a very fan event feel to DashCon 2. I went to a lot of panels, and this is another one of those things where I feel like a bigger venue with more rooms would allow for more variety in the panels and staggering things and things like that, because there was quite a lot of panels that were people would want to go to that were very popular, and so you had to choose between one or the other. For example, Internet Archaeology with Strange Aeons, and then a Bible dramatic reading, Kermit and Joker edition, The Muppet Joker. Right after that was...
Okay, just between you and me, these two events did actually take place simultaneously, but they were deliberately chosen to take place at the same time, because these two figures, the Muppet Joker and Strange Eons, were scheduled to have a little bit of, something of a, I'm not sure if I should call it fight, but they were scheduled to have a meeting, a brawl, there was a battle that was supposed to take place between them, and it was supposed to be, and it was one of the draws of the event, and these two, things being hosted by each of them being scheduled at once is very much part of that, internal or in the moment marketing, like whose side are you on kind of thing. In case you're wondering, while I will fully admit to having been on Strange Eon's side, I didn't actually go to her. Actually go to her presentation. I was doing my own thing. I was having lunch from catering. In full honesty.
Strange Aeons and Croaker duel. They dueled. There was a fight pit.
Duel. Thank you. That was the word I'm missing. And in fact, I was pretty close to the front row of the duel. Yeah.
Not the ball pit. There was like a
Let's see if I show up.
fight pit where you could fight with sticks. Those two duels. I did not make it close enough in time because I got stopped by a couple people. And I want to make note. I'm going to keep making notes of I got stopped. Okay, I'm not complaining. And also, when I come to events like this, I do expect that you guys look for me at events from time to time, especially something like DashCon 2. A few of you were like, thank God you're here. So when I acknowledge that I got stopped, I'm just acknowledging something, but because I would get stopped a few times, there was a couple of things that I missed because of that, okay? So I saw Strange Aeons knock down Croaker and go I was really far away. I went to the tail end of AO3 101 Fanfic Academia. They made a touch-starved ratio. It was a whole interaction.
Okay, I do admit I did not go to this presentation. I kind of forget what presentations I did actually visit, but still I made the most of my time. Let me put it that way.
Active thing where you could input your fandom and then copy and paste the data from like the AO3 for that Phantom without any edits or any filters, and it would like give you the touch star ratio for your Phantom
Data nerds.
based off a specific type of fic, which was very funny. I love data, so that was fun. Then I went to the making of DashCon 2, which was
Oh, that's why I didn't make it. That's why I didn't make it to that one, because the making of DashCon 2 was the first one. Was the first presentation of the day I actually went to, and these are not the only organizers, but they are it's safe to say, the leads. And remember that story I mentioned at the beginning of the video, where one of the leads said that my toxic trait is I believe I can organize DashCon 2? Yeah, that was this person right here. Her name is Simone. And she is accompanied by Avis, they, them. And you know, they had a very interesting, very involving presentation. And in case you're wondering, yes, I was in this hall. I think I was one of the people standing. Let me scroll back a little.
It was very funny. I love data, so that was fun. Then I went to the making of data.
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm this guy. I'm this guy in the shadow with the with a little goatee and a hat. Yeah. So yeah, I made it on Swell's channel. Somehow.
DashCon 2, which was put on by Avis and Simone. Okay, Avis and Simone are the main ones who put on DashCon 2. They're the co-runners more than anything. Basically, they're roommates, and every time they said they were roommates or referenced being roommates, everyone would be like, oh my god, they were roommates. Very funny. I love a bit that doesn't die.
Well, yeah, that's Tumblr's
Basically,
culture.
they had been watching a YouTube video about DashCon, and Simone was like, this sounds like a skill issue. Like, you didn't answer your emails, so you didn't know that people weren't getting
I
their
already
questions
mentioned this.
answered, and you didn't pay people, so they didn't show up, and then you didn't make money because you didn't sell enough tickets. Yeah, skill issue. And apparently was like, my toxic trait is that I think I could do another better DashCon. And so they started looking into it. Like I said, it's been almost over a decade since the last DashCon. So apparently the trademark was expired, and so they were able to go about it and do DashCon 2 and all of that. They did make a comment that made me like, ooh, I'm concerned, which we'll talk about in a second. But that's what made them really also start kind of like looking into how they could execute this in Toronto, where they live. And they reached out to Strange Aeons originally to be like, hey, here's what we're doing. And apparently Strange Aeons was like, cool, I'm interested. I don't trust you though. And so there was a whole pitch deck. It was a whole thing. And then obviously Strange was involved. Simone was funny because she mentioned how people had been joking like, oh, DashCon 2 is a recession indicator. And she was like, yeah, basically we didn't have jobs and we were new grads. The job market wasn't looking good, so we wanted something to do. Now Simone does have a real job.
Can confirm, or rather I can add that the job market here in Germany is not very good either. Well, or rather, to be more precise, there are jobs available, but people aren't hiring. Yeah, it's weird. They make jobs available, but they aren't, but they aren't hiring. Even in the conditions that they, advertise, they aren't really, looking to hire. Yeah, I can't explain it, nor am I particularly interested in doing so right now. So let's get back to the video.
Okay, but basically they were like, this could at the very least, it's a thing that we've made that we can use to pitch to jobs. Neither of them are in the event space, which is very funny. But hey, sometimes you need a project. Okay. But they talked about like the overall planning and all the emails and all of the pitchings and things like that. They had a different venue that was like basically...
Okay, yeah. This is everything you need to... this is a lot of things... I can't talk anymore. Anyway, this is a brief overview, and yes, the actual presentation did explain all the various points, but you can get a pretty good gist of what was going on just by looking into it. And also notice here Lachlan O'Neill, the organizer of the original DashCon. Yeah, we already covered what her involvement with this was.
This close to being signed to be the venue, and then the board vetoed it. They got...
Oh yeah, I remember that. This event was initially scheduled for July 12th at a different venue that was pretty much unconfirmed for the most part. The only confirmation surrounding it was that was that DashCon 2 would no longer take place in the venue, so they had to find a replacement venue as soon as possible. And to their credit, they did, and namely the Japanese Canadian Cultural Center. And it was it was a very effective, venue, which they managed to use quite well, as I've pointed out, and as Amanda has low-key highlighted.
Got double emailed by Tumblr. Tumblr was like, hey, we don't want to be involved, but also let us know how it goes. Type of thing. We'll give you Blaze Bucks or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, we won't stop you, but we won't help you either. Yeah, that's kind of that was what the Tumblr leadership thought, which, to be fair, is perhaps the safest. The safest corporate reply that they could have expected. Moving ahead.
I forget what they're called. I tune out anything on Tumblr that asks for money, frankly. The thing that concerned me, though, about this that I was not able to communicate with Simone when I talked to her later today was they mentioned...
Whoa, this was actually filmed on July 5th. On July 5th itself, I will admit I was too... in the moment to really... to really do any kind of documentary work. Most of the documentary work that I did on the day was just, my typical taking pictures and, taking pictures like I normally take pictures. I do joke a little bit that I take it like I'm about to hold a presentation, but I didn't pour any particular effort when it comes to documenting my experiences. Hence why you're only finding out about them now, almost 4 months later.
About the trademark, DashCon being, whole different team. This is a whole new team. They are not affiliated with the original DashCon in that way. They made a joke like, haha, please don't sue us. Okay? Please tell me you guys own something and you have something in writing from someone that was on the original planning committee or something, at the very least, in relation to the ownership of the words DashCon 2. Anything. Because my concern, okay.
I can neither confirm nor deny that such a thing is either in their possession or in existence.
Okay. Is that, because this is going well, at least from when I left, it was going really well. Everything seemed good and dandy, okay. And I worry about, it being like, oh, you guys made the brand non-poisonous again. But actually, that's still ours. We own it. And then other people from the planning committee being like, no, you don't get to use DashCon 2. We do. And then basically taking advantage of the hard work that you've done to make this event go well. Dark, I know, but that's what I do. I look at the worst case scenario, and you'd be surprised how often people want to do a little rug pull on anything, okay? So I hope you guys have something in writing. Then I went to the Internet Archaeology from Strange Aeons. At the same time was, the Muppet Joker thing. These lines were long, and they did have to cap the line at a certain time. There were people that didn't make it in to the talks. I did make it in.
Whenever there's a crowd shot, I started looking for myself now. See if I not come up, but show up at any point throughout the video. I did show up once so far. I'm curious whether there are more appearances of me.
Into every single talk that I wanted to today, which was nice, considering yesterday, every single talk that I wanted to go to, specifically anything related to the Apothecary Diaries, I did not get into anything, and it was really upsetting, okay? So I was really happy to make it into everything today. In the making of DashCon 2, they talked about the live dash and all of that, which is the live stream online, and they talked about how...
Oh yeah, that's true. There's everything from the con was also live stream, so it could be argued that whoever had bought a ticket for the virtual con got most of the highlights without actually being there. There has been discussions about making everything that was recorded for DashCon into VODs, but as of the time of this video's recording, which is August 22nd, or the 22nd of August, depending on how pedantic you wish to be, that has, to my knowledge, not yet happened.
expensive live streaming is, and they were like fully prepared to be out of money and things like that. But they ended up paying that off in full. Oh, and the venue had been paid in full before the event even started.
That's good.
Yes, thank you. You did it. You are right. Like, so much of this is a skill issue. You guys did everything right. When normally I cover everyone doing everything wrong. So this is really great. Overall, like, you guys, you did it. My friends, when I told them I was going to DashCon, they were like, what do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to be a mess? And I was like, dude, if it happens, it's a win. Like, if they make it through the full day, if they don't lock us in a room and ask us for money to keep the doors open, we're doing great. Okay? So you guys really did everything.
They not only did not do that, they really did a great job. So, as I said, even if it didn't, even if I didn't have to go all the way to Canada to take part of it, I think I could still very very clearly call it one of the highlights of my year. But then also going to Canada was really kind of the cap piece or the capstone of the year. So I was that makes that event particularly more that much more important to me. Not important enough to like brag about it, but it's important enough to want to keep.
And they basically just kept apologizing because they were like, whatever number they would be given, whether from people saying like, oh, I'm interested in attending, this is the merch estimates, thing like that, they would quarter it basically and be like, this is what we're going to estimate, and this is the amount of money that if we make it from these people that we should work with, which is smart. That's the smart way to do it. Again, everything is being done.
Some could argue it's the safe rather than smart, because yes, there is a difference, and it is very circumstantial. However, I can't really say that there is a difference between the safe thing and a smart thing in this particular situation. So, anyway, that being said, this was this was all. We're going back to, this was a well done con.
Done well here, but that led to they ran out of merch to sell because they assumed that like, oh, a lot of people must not want merch, but no, it just sold out really quickly on site and things like that. Like, again, 2 hours in and they're out of the merch. Pretty much every vendor that I spoke to, like, you guys know, if you are an artist and you see me at an event, normally it's, hi, oh my god, you're SwellEntertainment. Let me tell you about the bullshit that is going on at this convention. Okay. Not a one. Every single one of you was like, yeah, this is great. This is like the most fun time I've had tabling in a while, and things like that.
Oh, that's nice. That's one perspective I didn't really get, as I was visiting. Partly because I didn't ask, partly because, well, I was, I was in my own world, exploring other things at my own pace. So, yeah. Thanks for letting me know, Amanda.
Which I love hearing. That's what I want to hear. But I do think a lot of that does come back to, like I said, this being like fandom fans heavy. I phrased it weird. But you get my point. Like, it's like the people that are here are people that, a lot of people, this is like the first convention they've done, whether tabling or attending. I think the size and things like that was a very solid execution, frankly, for, what you were hoping to achieve, which I think was just maybe a successful event that people had fun at. It's usually the goal. Then I went to Tumblr Sexy Man Quiz Show, which is exactly what it sounds like on the tin. There was a crow exchange, which was, I didn't bring anything for the crow exchange.
I didn't bring anything either. I just, I just happened to walk. I think it's step. I happened to step on a, on a star that had some little bit of adhesive. And then I went into trading. I exchanged one thing for another thing, then another thing for another thing, and then that other thing I exchanged for a fishing worm, because those were the as Tumblr's community being more autistic than average, I think it's fair to say, really developed a fascination for fishing lures that kind of look like worms, and they were a big fad for a while, where people would make posts about worms, tricks with worms, all kinds of other stuff like this. So I was very proud to have like like a very authentic piece of Tumblr culture with me. It's actually right over there. But I'm currently tethered through my headphones, so I can't really show it to you. I might show it to you on Insta once this is done. Anyway, back to the video.
But basically, it was you would bring things to trade with people, like crows. So that's how I got a lot of bracelets.
Okay, you actually had to exchange stuff for the bracelets. Strange Eons actually received a lot of bracelets, just by being, just by being there, just through the, just for the fact that the heft of her name was able to get the whole thing going, and people just gave her a whole bunch of bracelets as tribute. Like by the end of the day, her forearms were literally covered in in bracelets, even though they were completely completely empty, completely free in the morning. So yeah, it's that's it's an interesting point of experience. And in case you're wondering, I actually still have my DashCon attendance bracelet. I decided to keep that because it's a memento of my year's capstone. Okay, that's why I still have it. If you don't like it, sue me. Screw you.
Miku absolved me of sin at DashCon 2. Full-on rubber bracelet made. There was Pope Miku, Miku Conclave, lots of bracelets. Some of you guys knew I was gonna come, and were like, okay, I made you special SwellEntertainment bracelets, which is very sweet. Oh, there was a piss bracelet. There was a lot of piss bracelets. I have a piss bracelet now. I have a lot of like little things in my bags and stuff.
I wonder if Swell ever has to explain any of this to her mother. I'm sure the topic of her work does come up every now and then. Maybe her mother watches some of her work. I know my mom is my biggest fan, but I do have to wonder if when it comes to these bracelets in particular, whether she has to in any way explain any of the any of the jokes that that lie at the that lay at the root of how exactly these products came to her. I don't know, just a question.
A few artists were like, I know you're doing it note by year, so here's a sticker, which is very sweet. Oh, the ball pit. Okay, so after Strange Aeons and Croaker's Duel, like once I saw Strange Aeons win the first time, I was like, okay, let me make a beeline to the ball pit because hopefully there's not a line right now. Yeah. The ball pit, they did try to get the original ball pit of the same design from the original DashCon. Apparently Lachlan had sent them like the link and then it like wasn't working out, but they tried. And then apparently they tried to get an actual ball pit, but it's like nearly impossible to rent things in Ontario. See, I'm based in LA. Like you can rent literally anything in LA. So like that concept is like foreign to me. So apparently it's a kiddie pool and then instead of water, it's filled up with a bunch.
Let's go back just a little bit.
Foreign to me. So apparently
is that you in the ball pit? Yeah, it looks like you. Okay.
It's a kiddie pool, and then instead of water, it's full.
What are you presenting? What are you talking about here? Are you seriously saying, well, here I am in the DashCon 2 ball pit. It has balls in it, I guess. It has an inflatable rim, and there is thankfully no line here, but it typically is. Typically there is a line to entrance. Like, what is she actually talking about here?
Filled up with a bunch of plastic balls that Simone basically did like a plastic ball pickup scavenger hunt from like Facebook Marketplace or something to like get enough plastic balls to fill up the ball pit, which very funny to me.
So I know a lot of you thought I wasn't going to make it out to Toronto to make DashCon 2, but you all forgot I'm insane. Naturally, I'm in the ball pit. It does not have any pee in it, which ends.
Oh, also, apparently, allegedly, because most people brought this up to me. Apparently, when you bought your ticket, the normal way, apparently you signed an agreement saying that you would not pee in the ball pit, but if you did, you would pay a $1,000 fine.
I don't remember that being a thing, but I do not rule out that being a thing because, yeah, the Tumblr community loves its in-jokes.
hilarious, frankly. I was hoping that I could get one of the plastic balls for my internet collection, but I didn't. That's okay. I got many a ball pit sticker. A lot of people gave me ball pit stickers. Overall, again, like a lot of my notes are like just little things. Like I said, great color on the shirts. I was told that like one of the reasons the shirts were so colorful was because my videos always talk about having easily identifiable volunteer shirts. I'm just saying I'm helpful, okay?
Good to know.
That is nice to hear that like things that I have said in videos like resonates with people when they are planning events. So that is really nice. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate hearing that. I did hear some complaints from some people that were doing panels for the live streaming. There was a few panels that I went to where
Again, I was, I was right there, so I can neither confirm nor deny any issues that happened with the live streams.
there was like, hey, we gotta wait a second for the live stream to catch up because they were doing like phone hotspot Wi-Fi because the Wi-Fi for the building was really slow. Again, that just comes down to your venue, and your venue may be like, oh no, our Wi-Fi is great, but then they're not prepared to have, 3 different talks happening simultaneously, and then everyone down in your dealer's, hall also be on Wi-Fi so that they can run their stripes and things like that. So something to think about. You'll see near the big battle pit that there was a stage that didn't have any seats there, but they did have some seats.
I think that's me right there by the window. So it looks like I showed up twice in this video.
Along the sides, those were specifically marked for people that were ADA, and there were also I think ADA wristbands or passes, I believe, that they gave out, so those people were very much highlighted so that they could go into panels easier and things like that, so that they weren't stuck with like a spot where they were standing against the wall and things like that, which is nice. And then also the actual organizers were not wearing the DashCon 2 pink shirts. They had rainbow lanyards, I believe, with like their name badges and things like that, which a few of them were like, if you have any questions, like just look for the rainbow lanyards and all of that, which is nice. I do appreciate that. I also appreciate you guys not hiding from me. That does happen on occasion, but you guys also knew I was coming, so much appreciated. And I do appreciate you guys accommodating me. You didn't have to do that, so much appreciated. But overall, it went really well. Like I'm genuinely impressed, but again, I'm impressed because you guys did, the thing that I want everyone to do, which is like use common sense, frankly. I think what worked the most for DashCon 2, the planning committee, as
The thing you find about common sense is that it is often neither common nor sensical. I have an acquaintance who's an anthropologist, or rather had. We didn't really have an argument or anything that caused us to split, but we just kind of drifted apart. And this is something that she would, typically say. Anyway.
As a whole, is that from the jump, they were like, okay, here's the amount of people that are interested in, we're going to accommodate a quarter of that, and that's what we're going to work off of, okay? And I think the total they said was about 600 people max, maybe. I think they did 500 tickets in that, but they did say that for their second event, they do not plan to jump to 1,000 people. So it'll probably be still in that range for the next event if they do another one, which, would be really cool. I got a pee is stored in the ball pit pin. Someone handed me moss, a ball of moss. Oh, here's the worm.
Mine is green. Oh well, doesn't matter.
Here's my worm. People kept handing me stuff, which is very sweet of them. I always appreciate it. I always appreciate when someone doesn't even say hi or their name. They just give me a thing. They're like, I like your videos, and then walk off. Thank you.
Yeah. That sounds like something a Tumblr would do.
It's like a surprise gift fairy coming back. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. Maybe in the future, if you guys would want to do something a little bit more focused with like just having like your guests having like a specific like spot where they're sitting at least certain times of day. That way it's a little more scheduled and controlled, and they have like a spot they can sit, or if they want to like advertise any of their merch or their books or anything like that, that might be smart, versus just like bringing it up in their panels and things like that. But that's obviously depends on the guest and things like that. But and again, that's also spacing things. But you did have some space next to where you guys were doing the raffles and things like that. So I do think you probably could have had space to facilitate this if you really wanted to, if that's something that you would want, or if your guests would want that in the future. I'm sure there'll be things in the edit that I'm like, I need to add this in because I'm a little tired, and I'm thinking of the food I'm about to eat and then the bath I'm going to take. It's going to be awesome. And then guess what? I'm going to go to sleep before I have my 6 a.m. flight.
Good for you. Then again, 6 a.m. flight after, yeah. You're crazy. But yeah, you already said that.
Thank you guys for accommodating me and letting me come. I do appreciate it. Thank you guys to everyone that came up and said hi. You guys were all very sweet and very chill, and I always appreciate that. Some of you were like, I know you hate being recognized. I hate being recognized when I'm like walking about my day and then someone yells swell across a courtyard. Like when I go to something like DashCon 2, I do expect that at least 3 of you will know who I am. Like, just based off of my demographics. Okay. So it was much less, anxious. I understand that because I was wearing a mask and not my normal glasses that some people were like, oh, you don't want to be recognized. It was a safety thing. I refused to be a super spreader, and I went to one giant event attended by a bunch of people to another smaller event that was fairly, attended. It's really going to be it. Did you hear about DashCon? Did you want to go to DashCon 2? Were you at DashCon?
I was at, and my thoughts on the event, I've pretty much drip fed throughout throughout my commentary on this video. So I don't really think there is much for me to add. Maybe me and Amanda could meet up for some other way, and we can sort of talk it out more more specifically if she cares about that, or unless she hasn't moved on already in some capacity, which I very much suspect she has. Anyway.
DashCon 2 and you didn't see me and you're annoyed you didn't see me, or you didn't think I was going to be there because you were like, whoa, wait, you were just in California? You forgot I'm crazy? Mothmanda strikes again? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder to swim on Twitch. Reminder that SwellEntertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder to check out Girly Pop Go if you'd like to see more of my car and motorsports content. Shout out to my channel members. If you'd like to join channel memberships, you can go ahead and click join down below. If you'd like to follow me on all social media, that'll be all up here. And that's going to be a hell of a day. Goodbye. Don't pee in the ball pit.
Okay, well, thanks for putting this whole thing together, Amanda.
There were a ton of really cool pieces in the dealer's hall that were like patches and stickers and prints all about the ball pit, DashCon 2, like I survived DashCon 2 and things like that. There was a thing that you could win like an extra hour in the ball pit and things like that again, which was like a whole thing for the first one. So that's very fun. I like when people are in on the joke. I think it's silly.
Okay. And that was it. That was Amanda's video. It was, I have to say, it was a little bit positive than a little bit more positive than I expected it to be. I didn't expect her to bash it, really. But I knew that was a, and I'm not necessarily sure if I thought that was a possibility. But it could be possible that if she went to a lot of cons, it is likely she had like her own opinions on what on what makes an interesting con, and therefore it is likely that DashCon would have one specific thing that she didn't like or didn't include, one specific thing that she did like, and that would potentially cause her to be dismissive of it. Thankfully, that was not the case. She was quite positive in general about it. And anyway, thanks for visiting. Thanks for sharing your opinions. Thanks for putting them all together. Be as prompt as you have been, unlike me. And yeah, I'm pretty sure the organizers will be very thankful for you. Will be very thankful to you as well. That being said, as far as I'm concerned, this is not the best video on DashCon 2. That title very much goes to, as I've already pointed out, DashCon is Resurrected, the entire story of DashCon 2 by Strange Eons, which came out at the end of July after she went through a lot of processing. But then again, she also has the advantage of having also done some behind the scenes work and being low-key the the videographer of that of a particular stage in the development and in the implementation of DashCon 2, but also when you look at the footage that she that she was able to collect from the day and how she was able to put it together, and to the point where it becomes clear that this is not the story of her at DashCon 2, this is the story of DashCon 2. She knows, she is, and even though she is involved, she knows when to move the camera away from her and to the towards the crowd, towards the attendees, towards the organizers, in such a way as to make the appeal and the actual point of the entire event that much more meaningful, that much more exciting to go through. And yeah, that was it from me as well. Surprisingly, this is not my longest video ever. I might just link it up somewhere. Yeah, I think over here. But that is beyond the scope of this video. So for now, let me just say thank you for your attention, assuming you've actually watched it so far. If you have, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to either to the event itself, Amanda's video, or to what I had to say about it, well, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe, and ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I talk about the print medium and selected works therein, because as I've already said, I'm an author. This is a point of interest to me. So if that sounds like something that could be up your alley, well then the link to that is in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I would suggest you check out should you choose to. And given my third book is on the way, it is likely that there will be a little something more to make it worth your while when we actually should you consider actually delving into my social media. If, however, you want to hear more about my thoughts on various things outside of the print medium, well then I suggest you stay on this channel, where I very rarely do reaction videos. I mostly do a lot of stuff about TV and movies, be that retrospectives, be that reviews, be that pitch videos. Sometimes I even do stuff like commentary or gameplay. And yeah, and if that doesn't interest you either, well then you can go ahead and do whatever you want the rest of your day, because it is your day after all. And now I'm done. That was it for me. So until next time, I have been the One Take Man.